What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. Link will be in the description box below as usual. Go get it. PayPal link there also. They asked me to put it up, so I put it up. Thanks everybody for supporting. This video is entitled The Birth of NBA Super Teams. Now, little sports. I'm going to do some different things. Now, people think about super teams and they think about recently, right? Or then people go back into the day like the old Celtics with Bill Russell, and they had 6 Hall of Famers combined at the end of the day. And then you go to the Lakers, and subsequently probably the Bulls, the second run. But those not necessarily super teams, because the Pistons had a dynasty. They had a dope squad. Those were drafted. People who were drafted, normally drafted to a team. Every now and then somebody went as a free agent or somebody got traded, but they weren't assembled. Now, to me, this is where it kicks off is 1992. See, the first super team was the Dream Team. And people forget, at the Olympics, other countries used to have professional basketball teams as they do now. And their professionals will play against the best college players in America. So at some point, to even the playing field, level the playing field to a degree, they decided, well, if y'all gonna use pros, America could use pros. So thus, the Dream Team. And if anybody remembers that team, they literally embarrassed the world in basketball. Thus, setting the bar for all of these foreign players to know how far they got to step their game up, because they crushed Tony Kukoc and it was at Croatia. It was bad because they were calling Tony Kukoc like the Croatian Michael Jordan or something. Mike and Scotty was not having that. But that was the beginning, because people think all-star teams, but all-star teams was a team that it was 1 week. The Dream Team had to practice, play. Many type of season. So people got acclimated to being with the creme de la creme of basketball players. Because remember, Chuck Daly set it up like the East versus the West in practice. So, and people forget, like Larry Bird was hurt. I think Chris Mullin was hurt too. So, because I remember Larry Bird's back was messed up. So, but the star of the Dream Team at the end of the day back then was Charles Barkley. Like, if anybody remember watching it, Charles really showed out in that Olympics. And, even though Michael Jordan was the best player on the planet as far as the Olympics, that's why Charles Barkley had the cachet that he did. Because it's like, damn, we didn't know Chuck was this good, because he was shining with the best of the best in the world. Now, here's the thing. After that Dream Team broke up, after the Olympics was over, they got gold. They had another Dream Team in '96. And every 4 years, so on and so forth. But it got to the point where people opted out of the Dream Team. So America's best players didn't actually play in the Olympics anymore. Until they started losing. And then they're like, oh, okay, we're going to take it seriously. Some of us going to come back. They played in the... They play the Olympics and like the summer games, something like that. Every 2 years is another one. But that is where people started building the relationships. That's when people started, you competed on the same team and you made bonds on the same team. But that era wanted to beat each other. They didn't want to join each other. But that's where it started, because the other teams and the Olympic teams is where all these guys started hooking up. This is where all the people that you thought about who hooked up on these super teams, you call it as you got older, this is where they hooked up at. The Olympic team. They knew each other from AAU, but the Olympic team is when they balled out together. So, and then people, you get to the era of like Shaq and Kobe, that's not a super team. Because you got to remember, there was a lot of duos in the early, mid, in the 90s in general. There was a lot of duos. Mike, Scotty, Stockton, Malone, Peyton, Kemp, After a while, he got Drexler and Olajuwon, but before that, it was Drexler and Porter, Isaiah Dumars. You know, who am I missing? Because they had a lot of people forget when Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning was together. Really, the only trio I could think of off the top was Run TMC, which is Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullin, and Mitch Richmond. So that was like a three-headed monster out there. And that was in the Bay, Golden State. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. So, the first one that I could really think about, because when Dennis Rodman joined the Bulls, that was a move. I think he was a free agent though, and the organization more so did that than the Bulls trying to recruit him. But at the same time they got Dennis, they wound up getting Ron Harper. So, super team, that which became problematic for the league. So then you had to have multiples. Now people forget about this, but after that the Lakers did it when they had Shaq, Kobe, Malone, Peyton. Who was that? Fuck, it's not Rick Fox, was it? They had a lineup. And that lineup is the lineup that lost to the Detroit Pistons, which had a super team, but it changed the dynamic. Because if people remember, the Pacers had a hell of a team at the time. And the part of the reason I got to bring this up is because what happened over time was teams, general managers, they didn't know how to draft people anymore. They didn't know how to build a team anymore. So they just started picking AKA like Jerry Jones style. Give me the best person you got. They didn't. That's why you see these teams now, they can't really build a franchise. They just trying to do everything through free agency because they don't know how to scout talent. They don't know what talent actually works for their team or their system. They don't even have a system. And they draft to sell tickets. They don't draft to win. This is why I bring the Pistons into play. The Pistons had a super team. But people didn't look at it like a super team back then because it was just a bunch of all-stars. Chauncey was moving around the league, but he was a good player. But he really came to his own in Detroit because people forget Chauncey got traded like 4-5 times in like the first 3 years. Rip Hamilton was in Washington. He was an all-star. He was averaging 20 because he played with Jordan. He was running around picks like Reggie Miller. All-star. Legitimately gonna put up 20 on you. Rasheed Wallace was known to be a beast. It was just his temperament because Portland had that great run in the West. And then Ben Wallace just came out of nowhere and he just kept being a defensive stopper. He filled his role. You get what I'm saying? And Tyshawn Prince was somebody that they drafted that was phenomenal as a player at that time. So the era of super teams began and Larry Brown ran his offense right and his defense right. That was a team playing team ball against a super team. The team of good all-stars beat the super team of great players. Because my dad used to say this. He said, look, man, it's only one ball on the court. Can't have that many superstars. So then people fast forward and Kobe, Paul Gasol, Ron Artest. Thus, and then people think about the Celtics. That was a super team. And then they think about, because KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen, that was a super team. They was all just studs on their own, period. In the midst of this, San Antonio kept building super teams. Robinson to Duncan, Parker, Ginobili. You know what I'm saying? That's how they did their thing. They actually had talent and coaching and an organization that knew about it. But when people was like, oh, okay, well, LeBron started the super teams. No, he didn't. Because even in Miami, that wasn't LeBron's super team. That was D-Wade's super team. They went to Miami. Miami had already won a championship with D-Wade as the MVP. They was trying to get Carmelo, if I am mistaken, but Carmelo didn't come. So then after that super team, people considered Golden State a super team, which it really wasn't until they got KD, because that's Mark Jackson's creation. That's drafting. That's old school scouting talent and running the system. That's what he did. When they added KD, that was different. Now, when LeBron went back and when they got Kevin Love, that's trying to make it a super team. You know, just like now, you don't really see super teams. You see a massive duo, and you try to get three. The three can make you a super team, but sometimes you really can't afford the three because of the role players. They might not fit. You know, so to me, that was the birth of the NBA super teams. It started with the Dream Team, because all these teams that you think about now, what does it always go back to? This was his homeboy, and they work out in the summer, or they play together on what? The Olympic team. That's how it normally works. Especially I'm talking about for the top guys. Look at it. So I'm done with this one. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.